Welcome everyone to this TALive webinar, Keeping It Moving Forward, Fun Summer Learning. My name is Candace McIntyre with the Resource Materials and Technology Center for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing, RMTC-DHH, and I'm joined by my colleague, Mark Keith. We know that the end of the school year is approaching, and what an end we have had. You all have become virtual teachers overnight, and you've completely rocked it. We know that the end of the school year has been stressful. So today we wanted to share some fun summer learning resources for you and your students or your children if you're a parent. On the slide is the QR code and the link to the Summer Learning Padlet created by RMTC-DHH. We will be sharing resources that are in this Padlet. You can access the Padlet through the QR code or the link to follow along with us as we go through different resources. RMTC-DHH is a discretionary project funded by the Florida Department of Education. It offers professional development, on-site observations, consultations, trainings, and technical assistance, as well as we offer a free loan library. RMTC-DHH also provides language evaluations and assessments, informal and information and referral, and a plethora of resources. Although we are not providing on-site assistance at this time, we are still providing virtual assistance to any districts in need. All services and materials available from RMTC-DHH are provided at no charge. This is the lovely group of people that make up RMTC-DHH. We're a fun bunch. And here are today's objectives. So participants will be able to identify and justify the need for continued access to communication and language during breaks from instruction, and identify online, paper-based, and experience-based activities to support language enrichment at home for families and teachers during breaks from structured teaching. Now, I'm going to go ahead and transition to my colleague, Mark, and we're going to jump right in. Mark?
Hi, everybody. I want to start out by talking about summer learning regression, which this year in particular, I think is going to be a big concern for everybody. We've been in this virtual learning mode now for a month and a half, 2 months. It's been probably a little confusing for everybody. We're not sure how it's impacting learning totally across the board right now with the students. And then we also know everybody's kind of in a somewhat of a lockdown state, and even as we begin to loosen up restrictions, there's going to be some hesitancy for families to go out and about and make any attempt to return to normal life until they're sure that this virus is not going to continue to be an issue, which it looks like it's going to be for a period of time now. That being said, what do we do? What do we need to consider? We need to worry about the summer regression that goes on. On average, what we see is about over the course of summer, sometimes 2.5 months worth of math skills are often lost. 2 months of reading skills are often lost over the summer. And you guys as teachers spend sometimes 6 weeks or so reteaching old material to get them caught back up to where they were at the end of the school year. But there is a way to kind of deal with this, to temper this down and actually keep the kids on track. And that's if somebody can spend 2 to 3 hours per week during the summer working with the children on educational issues. That can be maybe staff through ESY, but most particularly, it's going to be parents. Parents are going to be the folks who are going to be around the children the most. They're going to be the ones interacting with the children the most, and frankly, the ones who are going to be able to help prevent this regression. So what we want to do is talk about how we can do that and then things that they can do, especially in this current environment. One of the first things that as a parent that it's good to have is a plan. I know as a parent myself, my wife and I used to talk about things that we would do with our son in the summer. We'd kind of map things out as to what we wanted to do, how we wanted to do things, where we wanted to go, maybe topics of interest. Having a plan helps. It helps everybody. It gives the child kind of an idea what's going to go on. It gets a routine established for them. But for the parents, it also having a schedule of some kind also puts it in their mind, gets it on their list that today I need to be aware of this, and this is something I'm going to work on with the child. It doesn't have to be hardcore. I mean, it can be maybe a cooking activity that involves reading a recipe and how to cooking and math, actually, because then you have reading, math, and you would have cooking. So you'd have to be able to read the recipe, and then you'd have to be able to do the measurements to put the ingredients in place to cook something. So yet it's a fun activity. Everybody likes baking cookies. It was something I remember doing with my son. I'm the baker in the family, so I remember doing that with my son. We'd make chocolate chip cookies on the weekends, for instance. Maybe working in the yard if we're working in the flower beds or something. There's a gardening activities that can be done. There's a lot of stuff like that. History. I mean, we up until this year, of course, it was easy to go out and go places and see things and do things to learn history and social studies and things like that by seeing and doing. This year, that's not going to be as possible. So, but there are a lot of virtual ways you can do that. In cooperation, in conjunction with this plan, one of the things we've created is a Padlet that lists a whole bunch of activities and resources that you'll be able to access. And they're good ideas. It's not a definitive list, but it is a strong list that gives you and gives parents ideas and activities that they can do with their children. Before we get to the Padlet, one of the things too that I want to talk about that I think is really, really, really important, and something that if you can get the parents to work on with the children over the summer, it's a wonderful time to work on these kind of skills, are those self-advocacy and independent living skills. The bottom line of self-advocacy and independent living skills are critical pieces of summer learning. You incorporate these skills into everything that you do. And the bottom line, these skills are going to have impact that will echo throughout the child's life. Those self-advocacy and independent living skills are skills they're going to need when they get out of school. They're skills they're going to need in the regular school day when we return to school, when they get to high school, when they get out into the real world to advocate for themselves and their needs, and particularly in a job environment as well. So the more we can teach that now, the better off that child's going to be. So this is something we need to encourage. I'm a big believer as part of this is using something called the Socratic method, which is where you answer questions with questions. The reason I like this is it gets the child to think at deeper levels, to problem solve on their own. And even if they eventually get to a conclusion that may not be correct, you still have, without telling them they're wrong, you can then question them about the answer that they've come up with and get them to reevaluate if that answer is actually the correct one, or if maybe they need to look at a different answer. But the bottom line, it takes them to that second, third, fourth levels of thinking beyond just superficial surface thinking. And I think that's critical for a child to develop those skills. Another thing you need to do is find the child's comfort envelope. All kids have a comfort envelope where they're comfortable expressing themselves to a point. Now we got to push them beyond that point to get them to that next level. And that should be a continual thing. We should always be looking to push the child to the next level of independence, the next level of self-advocacy. That way, when they get to be adults, they're able to function and operate in the real world and not have to depend on other folks to speak for them. The National Deaf Center has a really detailed self-advocacy and independent living skills checklist. This is something I recommend letting the parents know about because it is something that gives them kind of age-appropriate skill levels, things that they need to think about, things they can do, and it will give them the opportunity to kind of think about what they need to do when working with their child. The link, I know we're providing the link in the notes for this session, so please pull it up and take a look. Now, another factor that we need to worry about too is transition skills. Transition skills to me really fall into those independent living skills, self-advocacy skills, but it's the skills that you're going to need to transfer, to transition out of school to get ready to move into the real world. And, is it things like, it could be something as easy as, do you know how to balance your own checkbook? Do you know how to write a check? Do you know what a bank deposit is? What happens to your money? One of the fun ones is the first time your child gets a job and they're getting paid X number of dollars an hour, but they discover they're getting less money in their paycheck because they're having to pay taxes. Why are they paying taxes? Those are things that are transition skills. Being able to cook for themselves, being able to clean, how to use the laundry. All those things are transition skills as well as independent living skills. They're things they're going to need as they move on into the real world. Again, NDC, the National Deaf Center, has a couple of documents that are worth looking at. The links to these are provided as well in the notes. And they're things that you can practice at home to develop those transition skills. Now let us move on to the Padlet. This is probably my favorite thing of this whole session today. One thing to keep in mind throughout this Padlet as you work through it, as you look at it, it gives you the ability to explore different parts of the environment, as well as to learn outside the house while never leaving home. But it also opens up doors for opportunities for to keep working on reading skills and writing skills if you want to. You can see we've broken this apart into different categories to try and make it more accessible. And we keep adding to this. This is a living document. We will keep adding to this as time goes on. If for some reason you find a resource that we don't have on here, let us know. Send one of us an email and we will add it to the Padlet. We will review it and then add it into the Padlet if it's something that's effective and helpful for a child or for a family. The first column, we broke these apart. I think museums deserve their own category. Museums offer all kinds of resources. You can see it starts out with the British Museum, but below that, there's a number of links for the Smithsonian, which has all kinds of resources. They just take a different approach to how they assembled theirs. But everything from videos to learning labs to all kinds of educational opportunities, tours of the museums. Google Arts, and the Google Arts link here is interesting because it actually has links to over 2,000 museums. And there it is right there. Tours and information from up to 2,000 museums worldwide. What you find too, a lot of these sites, the information continues to grow as the museums or groups have time to add more. They continue to do so. The one I wanted to highlight here, though, was the very first one, the British Museum, and I like this. I like this specifically because they do theirs a little bit differently. And I love the British Museum. I think it's a fantastic place to tour if you ever get the chance. But in this blog that they've set, they've actually created 11 different ways to access this museum, which I just find fascinating. That way you're not stuck in one mode or another mode. You can pick a mode that suits you best. One of the ones I like in particular, but you can see as we go down through here, there's just different, there's like Apple Podcasts, there's all kinds of different ways in. But my favorite, and I said, I'm a museum geek. I love museums. I grew up in DC, the DC area, and when we had free time, my friends and I, we would go out and hang out in the Smithsonian. I mean, you could spend half your life in the Smithsonian and still not see everything. But if you go, let's click on this. This is actually through Google Street View. You can actually tour the museum as if you're actually there. It starts in the Egyptian section of the museum, and you can go from room to room, section to section. But what I like is you can walk through the exhibits. You can circle the exhibits just as if you're there. You can actually read the faceplates that explain what you're actually seeing. Again, just like you're in the museum itself. And I love this capability. Might not be for everybody, but but like I said, I'm one of those folks who likes to really look at things like this. Some of you may prefer videos or other things, but this for me is a fantastic way to see museums. I can see size on things. If we move over to educational online resources, there's a whole bunch of stuff here. Camp Wonderopolis is a nice, very varied resource. Genius at Play. There's actually a curriculum on the Civil War that you can do at home. Yellowstone National Park. This is one where the rangers are using Facebook to talk about different aspects of Yellowstone. Most of it's science related and biological science related. But again, you've got rangers talking about their passions and things that they love. So it's a good resource all the way down through here. The one I'd really like to look at here is a story time resource. It's down near the bottom. So you can see we have all these resources. Here we go. Storytime Online. And here it's on YouTube. It's through YouTube, their YouTube channel. And they have all kind of people reading stories. And the stories are captioned. We can go ahead and click on one of those and we can take a peek.
Welcome to Storyline Online, brought to you by the SAG-AFTRA Foundation. My name is David Harbour, and today I will be reading Snapsy the Alligator Did Not Ask to Be in This Book.
So we can see, it's captioned. It's a kid's book. It's got movement. It's got action. Great for little kids. Exposing them to different stories. So you're not only seeing the book, you're getting to read the book. You're getting to see the text. Somebody's reading to you, and you're also getting the captioning as well. So you can access that from multiple layers. And like I said, from what I understand, most of the folks who do the reading here are actors or famous people of some kind. They've done something that people know who they are. I think I saw Kristen Bell in here, for instance, and some other people who you probably know. I think Betty White's in here. So it's interesting. It's an interesting. I just think it's a fascinating, interesting site. So well worth the time, particularly, like I said, particularly for the younger kids. So let's pop on out of this, and now virtual field trips. Again, tons of resources here. There are different kinds of field trips you can do. Some have actually, like somebody walking you through a park or a place. They have webcams that are situated at watering holes in Africa. That's the Africam, where there's no script to it. You just watch that watering hole. Whatever happens to show up at the watering hole, you can watch in real time. Google Earth. There's other ones that explore the Arctic. All kinds of resources. The one that I really like, that I want to show you guys because it's so extensive, is this Air Pano. It actually has two different ways to access their field trips. One is through, let's see if we can get it to pop up here. One is through panoramas. Panoramas are just a big, like 360-degree picture. But what's cool about this, if we could click on panoramas, and let's look at pick one. Let's see. Yeah, Chichen Itza. We'll look at Chichen Itza. What it is, it's a 360-degree photo. And in that photo, there are click points. You can control wherever you face. You could go on a click point and pull up information about it. And like I said, I like this because it gives you the sense of scale. It gives you the ability to look at things in detail if you choose to. It provides information to you. You can move around the site, so you're not just stuck from a single image, but a series of linked images. Really, really cool. And you control where you go in Chichen Itza. So it's, again, nice resource. All kind of over 4,000 different places you can go. They also have a video option, a 360 video. So let's take a look at one of those. As it pulls up here. Let's look at Petra, the ancient city of Petra. You may recognize this. It actually is at the actually used as part of the set in the Indiana Jones, the third of the Indiana Jones movies.
Petra, Jordan, one of the new 7 wonders of the world. We invite you on a virtual journey to Petra, the ancient and mysterious city in Jordan.
And as you go through, as this moves forward, you notice it's captioned, but you also can control the camera. You can turn the camera, move the camera, as well as just let the video run itself. And that way you can kind of get a sense of, again, the site. And this is, to me, a fascinating site. It's actually cut into the rock of a little valley for all intents and purposes. And just it's so different from so many of the things you see in the world. It's something that to me arouses a sense of curiosity as to why this is here. Why did people do this? It's what, 4,000 years old. So again, there's I think there's 400 or 500 different options here, places to see. Excuse me. So again, they go all over the world here in this one. Now, I'm also a big fan of national parks. I love the national parks, and a lot of the national parks have their own virtual tours. One of the things that I like is these are tours that can be done any way. Like the Gettysburg tour is a tour where they actually move from location to location on the battlefield. And there's rangers giving a ranger talk about it. Other ones are kind of storyline kind of talks. One of the ones I'd like to show you guys here is the one that they do at for the Kenai Fjords National Park.
1,000 miles north of the continental United States lies a land where the Ice Age still lingers.
Look down. You're standing above a crevasse on Exit Glacier. Exit Glacier is one of the most visited parts of the park, but very few people get to come up here and walk out onto the ice or venture into one of its. The massive ice in front of you was the toe or end of Exit Glacier when I first arrived at the park. The glacier has retreated 46 feet per year on average, but in the past few years that has spiked dramatically. Take a kayak journey of your own.
See, all this gives you all kind of access to different pieces and parts of the interesting things in there. What's interesting is the person narrating that is a ranger at the park. So she knows that she's intimately familiar with the sights and sounds there. They're not long videos or tours, but it gives you the ability to explore and see things that you aren't going to normally get a chance to see. Well worth the time. Well worth the time. Candace, I think at this point I'm going to turn it over to you to do the last few columns here.
Awesome. Thanks, Mark. All right. So as you could tell, Mark can be a little nerdy and he likes all his history stuff. And my husband's the same way. He's a big history buff. But sometimes I just want to have the fun things. Now that's fun for them, but I want some different kind of fun. So give me a Disney park ride, give me some outdoor activities. So I'm going to show you some different activities too. So in our column, we have staycations, attractions, and amusement parks. We've got virtual Disney rides here. You can experience New York, a staycation in Tampa, Orlando. I'm going to actually click on the Disney rides for those who are obsessed with Disney and are missing Disney since it's closed right now. I'm going to go ahead and click on that one, and it'll pop up a video of a ride. And this one is the expedition in Mount Everest. And what's cool about this is that it'll give you little tidbits along the way about the ride, so your history buffs can still get a little something. So like I said, it goes through and it has different little tidbits about the ride. So how Mount Everest, how tall it stands, and the ride itself. And it's one of the tallest mountains, quote unquote, in Florida, because, you know, it's not really a mountain, it's a ride. But I just like that it also gives little tidbits along, but it takes you through the actual ride, which is really fun, I think, for our kiddos who are missing, you know, those amusement parks and those rides who have been there or who have never seen them before. Next, we have our home indoor and outdoor activities category. So this is where we talked about where you could find like the cooking, the gardening, the outdoor activities. So I'm going to show you actually two different things in this category. I'm going to show you one that you can do inside and one that you can do outside. So one is the PBS cooking with kids. I really like this one because the recipes are very simple. I'm going to click on that. What I like about it is that it also gives you different recipes from around the world too. So like if you did, say if you did your, you know, did one of your virtual field trips, say if you went to Vietnam, right? And then you want to continue that experience and get the kids to really learn about the culture, they can even make some Vietnamese dishes. So like they have a pho soup from Vietnam here, a recipe for that. And like I said, it's simple ingredients, simple cooking directions. So obviously you want to do this, you know, as a parent, you want to do this with your kiddo at home. You don't want to let them just do it by themselves. But these are really good activities that can help them learn and build those independent living skills as well on learning how to cook. But it's fun for them because then they can get that different culture experience too, which could be really neat for them. Another one I wanted to show, so like I said, we have all these different ones. We have geocaching, kids yoga, gardening. I wanted to share the geocaching. I had actually never heard of this until my friend Sherry Conrad shared it. And I just think it is the coolest thing ever. So it's basically like a treasure hunt. So it's using a smartphone app. So if you have a smartphone, you can download the app Geocache or geocaching. And then you just find these little caches in your neighborhood or out on trails. So, and it'll show you on the app a map of where these different caches are. So a cache is just basically a camouflage little container that has all these different little trinkets in it. And what I like about this site is that it kind of gives you a breakdown for kids of how to do it with kids. So how do you start? What do you bring? Looking for caches, safety tips. It has a little cute video of kids finding one on the beach. It's right there behind the log. So that's fun. And then once you find a cache, what do you do with it? So a lot of people take something from it and then you have to leave something in it, or you can just leave it. If you don't have anything to put in it, then you just leave it. You don't take anything out of it unless you have something to put in it. And then you write about it in the logbook. There should be a logbook inside each cache, and you sign like your name and when you found it and all that, so that people can see how long between each person trying to hunt for these, how long it takes them to find different caches. So I thought that was really fun and really cool. It gets the kids outdoors. So, I know that a lot of us are just tired of being on computers and stuck inside. So I think that that's a really fun tool. And then our last category, we have hearing and deafness related tools, and we have so many resources in here. ASL stories, ASL literacy activities. There's a summer reading contest for kiddos who use listening and spoken language, that they can get a reading contest that they can apply for. Like I said, lots of ASL videos. There's Deaf Verse, which is a video style game, which is really fun. The Listening Room, which is another listening and spoken language practicing activities online. And then there's art lessons in ASL. So there's lots of activities and really fun. I'm actually going to show you two. The one that I really wanted to show was the Moonlight Lab ASL literacy activities. So this is actually based out of Gallaudet University. They created this, and right now you can get access for free due to all the COVID-19 going on. They know that many kiddos who are deaf, hard of hearing are at home, so they are offering this for free, so you can get access for free. And then there's all these different lessons that for parents that they could use, which I think is just so cool, that I wanted to show you. So I'm going to log in. If you were just visiting the site, you would say get access for free and you'd set up an account. But since I've already set up an account, I'm going to go ahead and log in. And then once you log in, this will be your dashboard. So I've started the ASL literacy activities course. So I'm going to resume course. And this is the one that I wanted to show you. I think it is so cool. So there's, I think, 8 weeks of activities, Monday through Friday activities, all based around ASL signing, reading activities. So that's 8 weeks. that could take up your whole summer. So like the first week is Marvelous Monday, and it has a deaf native signer signing the story. So that's really fun. And then you have Thinking Tuesday. So the next day it gives you activities that relate to that story that the deaf signer just signed that story on Monday. So then they can do the activities, and then you go on and there's all these different activities. I really also like the Deaf Ed at Home chart. So this is really cool for parents that I wanted to share. It has a whole schedule for those parents that may have a full day that they need to have set up for their child. Not every parent can do a full day, or not every parent can even do every day, and that's okay. But if for those parents who want a full day activity schedule, this is a really great one. It has literally rise and shine all the way down to bedtime. So I just thought that was a really neat schedule for parents to access. And then the other one I wanted to show in this category in the Padlet is Deaf Verse. So if you have not seen Deaf Verse, it is really cool. It's a video game style for secondary kiddos, so middle school, high school kids. You can play it.
Remember what to do? Purchase some popcorn and settle down in your seat. Ask about captioning. Or throw popcorn at the screen.
But it's all transition skills. So it's getting them in this real life situation where they have to use self-advocacy to work their way through it. But it's all a game style, so it's more fun for them. So I thought that was really neat for our middle and high school kiddos that are really more into video games. So I wanted to share those with you. So that is our Padlet. So like I said, we have a ton of resources in this Padlet with lots of different categories. What we wanted to let you know is, what about other resources? So what if there was something in there that you didn't see? That's okay. Use your imagination. Access your child's imagination. What are your child's interests? Google search it. If you find something in there or if you find something that's not in there that you think would be a really good resource, please let us know. Email it to us and we will add it. That's what this resource is for. It's for parents and for teachers. So if you find a resource that you think is really useful for one of those categories, or even a different, you think of something else, just share it with us and we'd be happy to add it. Just remember that no matter what resource you find or you use, that language is key. So we know that in light of kiddos staying home, that language can be difficult. So the key is to do fun activities, to have conversations together, whether that be with the teacher or with the parent, for the parent with the child, or the teacher with the student. So just have those fun activities and have conversations throughout it. You know, if you're cooking, make sure you're saying like the ingredients, like, hey, Johnny, hand me the cinnamon, or, you know, talk them through what you're doing so that they can hear those words and they can build their language too. Like we talked about, like have that schedule, you know, read, garden, cook, do arts and crafts, take a trip, let the kiddo choose. You know, their summer learning can be just fun. It doesn't have to be the daily grind. And I know that the end of the school year has been difficult, not only on parents and teachers, but on the kids. So let it be a fun time to explore and to learn through exploring. It's really can be fun. And take pictures along the way, because if you take pictures, then you can do a language experience book. So I know that some of you have heard of or seen language experience books. So a language experience book is, I'm going to show you different examples, but it's basically that. It's an experience book that you have sentences in of what you did. Really pretty simple. The first link here, it says continue the activity after it is over by making an experience book. That link takes you to a Gallaudet Laurent Clerc Center resource that will show you the different like examples, and it'll show you kind of a step-by-step of how to do it. But we also have tools that we have created or have our students have created and have shared with us and families that we wanted to show you. So different tools that you can use to make a language experience book is Book Creator. Book Creator is a really good one. And we actually have a whole webinar that Randy Mitchell from the Florida School for the Deaf and the Blind did in collaboration with us, with RMTC-DHH, on Book Creator and other different resources that we can make sure we share. She shows different activities that you can do with Book Creator as well. But our lovely friend, Kara Wilmot with RMTC-DHH, created an example that I'm going to show you all. What I like about Book Creator is that you can have the English text and the ASL where the kiddo can sign what the English text is. So I love that. So you can say, read it to me.
My trip to Boston.
And it'll read it to them. And then you can click on the ASL, the video, my trip to Boston. And so it's a whole book that Kara created on her trip to Boston. And you can add pictures, you can add videos. Like I said, what I love about Book Creator is that you can add those videos of the kiddo signing the story, which is a really good ASL English bilingual strategy for them to have that printed English and that sign language so they can have access to both languages. Or if your kiddo uses listening and spoken language and not sign language, that's fine. They can video themselves just orally reporting the book, which is great too, and really good skill for them to learn as well. So I love Book Creator. I think that's a really good tool. And that was an awesome example. And then, I mean, you can use PowerPoint to make these language experience books. And we have two examples that I want to show. One is a school example that a teacher did with the student, and then one is a home example that a parent did with the student. So the school example, this was done in PowerPoint, and then they downloaded it as a PDF. but it was done in PowerPoint. And it's all about the trip to the Jacksonville Zoo. And the kiddo, would tell, this was a pre-K kid, so the student told the teacher the sentence, I'm looking at the gorillas. The gorillas are black. And then the teacher helped her type it and added the pictures, as you can see. But that's your language experience. So there, she's telling her whole experience of what she saw at the zoo, and that helps them with the reading and the writing skills as well. So that was a school example. Here is a home example. And this one was done in Google Slides. It could be done in PowerPoint and Google Slides. Either one, doesn't matter. So this was, the student was learning antonyms. So he was talking about big versus little. And so the parent helped him at home, and they took pictures around the home. So mom's hand is big, my hand is little. My ball is big, my ball is little. So you can just see all these different, antonyms that he talked about: big table and chairs, little table and chairs. So what's great is that there's so many different resources that you can use to create this language experience book. And like we talked about before, if you have that schedule set up for them, where like maybe Monday's like gardening, and then Thursday is your language experience day, or Thursday is your arts and craft day, then your arts and crafts could be making a language experience book. So you could use Book Creator, you could use PowerPoint or Google Slides. You can use plain and simple paper, pencil, and or crayons. I know, shocking that we don't have to use technology to make something. You can just use paper and pencil, that's fine. There's online photo albums like Mixbooks, or even Walgreens, Walmart. They have all those online photo albums that you can make one too. So use your imagination. But these are so great because it helps emphasize to the child that language that they're learning, and really get it in their brains. All right, so we've talked about language experiences, but what about like true biz reading, right? What about actual reading? Why is 20 minutes of reading a day important? Do I need to have 20 minutes a day of reading? Yes. So I love this image. I've seen it in so many different presentations that I've been a part of, and I think it is just very powerful, and it speaks volumes. So it reads, student A reads 20 minutes each day, 3,600 minutes in a school year, which is equivalent to 1,800,000 words. Student B reads 5 minutes each day, 900 minutes in a school year, which is equivalent to 282,000 words. And then student C reads 1 minute each day, 180 minutes in a school year, and 8,000 words. And then it shows a bookshelf that's, large with lots of books for student A, medium bookshelf for student B, and then a very small bookshelf for student C. So really, by the end of the school year, student A will have read the equivalent of 60 whole school days. Student B will have only read 12 school days, so if you're thinking about this, which student would you expect to actually have better vocabulary or would be more successful in school and in life? I always love this because I think it's so impactful for students to see, and for parents and for teachers to see. I think it really gives the imagery a lot of justice. So where can you find reading resources? So we showed some of these in the Padlet. So we had that Storyline online celebrity read alouds that Mark showed, and that educational online resources category. I loved that one because it's all celebrities reading aloud. And I know that a lot of students are more motivated whenever they see someone, a face that they know. So that's really cool. And then there's also ASL signing stories. So if your kiddo is a student who is deaf, hard of hearing, and uses sign language, there are, just like the Storyline online celebrity read alouds, there are deaf celebrity read alouds through DPAN, which is really great. So those are all deaf celebrities reading, signing the stories. And then there's a whole plethora of ASL signing stories and that Padlet under that hearing and deafness related resources. Another resource that you can use, and I think a lot of people don't think about, are your local library. You can get a local library card and get ebooks or audiobooks through apps through your local library. So like I know I live in Jacksonville, and one of the apps that I use is Hoopla, Hoopla, Hoopla. And I access audiobooks through that so I can listen to them while I'm driving. And that's a really, I think, easy resource that's free for families and for teachers too, that you can get your ebooks or your audiobooks through a local library card free. And then Google search. I know we've said this so many times, but Google search your child's interests. If your kiddo is like interested in elephants, like right now, my 1.5-year-old is obsessed with elephants. He is all about elephants. He thinks that they're fascinating. So we've like Google searched different elephant videos and elephant books, and he is all about the elephant. So if you have a really big thing that your student or your child is interested in, Google search it. I'm sure there are so many resources out there that you can find. And just remember, friends, summer's coming. So from our scurry to yours, happy summer, everyone. We do thank you so much for watching this webinar, Keeping It Moving Forward, Fun Summer Learning. As we discussed before that, RMTC-DHH is a discretionary project that all of our services that we provide are free. So if you would fill out our survey to continue our data collection to show the need for why we need to continue doing these webinars and continue doing our support to you all, please fill out our survey. And you can contact us anytime at our info@rmtcdhh.org for any questions or concerns that you have. And make sure you follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and Vimeo and YouTube. We have all of our webinars and all sorts of videos archived there. So make sure you follow us on YouTube and Vimeo as well. So thank you again so much for watching this, and we hope that you have a wonderful summer, everyone.